The story kicks off with Pippa, who has just moved into a new home in Montreal with her boyfriend, Thomas. Excited about their decision to live together, they share a pleasant evening together. As they enjoy their drinks, they notice the apartment across from theirs is fully visible through their window. Pippa and Thomas become captivated by their neighbors, who start kissing and continue to observe the couple, offering critical comments from their vantage point. Pippa, feeling uncomfortable, urges Thomas to stop staring and respect their privacy. Thomas, however, brushes off the concern, claiming that they are aware they can be seen, and it's not a problem. Despite his initial resistance, Pippa eventually persuades Thomas that every window holds a different life, and people are watching them too. In an attempt to spice things up, Pippa dresses attractively, hoping to initiate their first intimate experience in their new home. However, she discovers that Thomas is already asleep, and her efforts go in vain. The next day, Pippa begins a new day in the neighborhood and heads to work with her close friend Ari. During a conversation, Pippa reveals to Ari that she witnessed the neighbors engaging in intimate activities the previous night. Pippa works as an assistant to an ophthalmologist, aspiring to become a doctor herself. Her senior doctor gifts her a present for her new home, explaining that it's for the birds that visit and will bring joy. Returning home, Pippa finds a beautiful drawing from Thomas on the blackboard, making her happy. They discuss their neighbors and appreciate the beauty in their lives. Later, Pippa and Thomas notice their neighbor choking, and despite attempts to inform his wife, she fails to comprehend. Pippa urges Thomas to help, but miraculously, the wife saves him, and they share a relieved kiss. In the middle of the night, Pippa, unable to sleep, goes to the kitchen. She notices the neighbor's wife going on a trip, bid farewell by her husband through the window. Enthralled by the scene, Pippa gets lost in admiration but startles when the glass of water shatters as the neighbor catches her looking. The following day, Thomas, whose job involves creating music for commercials, is at work when he notices something interesting happening in the house across the street. The neighbor, who works as a photographer specializing in models, is seen with one of the models. In the absence of his wife, the scene feels very intimate to Thomas. When Pippa returns from work, she notices a hunting camera behind a shop window and decides to buy it. Now, they become more curious about the neighbor's behavior in the absence of his wife. They discover that he has invited the same person he was talking to earlier to his house, intending to take snapshots and offer her a drink. However, things take an unexpected turn when he provocatively undresses in front of the girl. Simultaneously, Pippa and Thomas, inspired by their neighbor, engage in creative and unconventional intimacy. Unlike the neighbor, Thomas struggles to provide a happy ending. In the middle of the night, Pippa, unable to sleep, gets out of bed and continues to sneak a peek at her neighbor. The neighbor's wife returns from her trip, reuniting with her husband. Pippa realizes that they share a deep relationship. The next day, during a meeting with friends, Pippa shares this incident. While talking with Thomas's sister, Pippa discovers that Thomas had experience extracting sound from closed spaces using a long-range microphone in the past. At home, he explains to Pippa how he can access sounds inside the house by using vibrations and passing them through the reflection of the neighbor's window. However, he needs a mirror to reflect the lines of sound. Although their first attempt fails, Pippa is determined. She and Thomas decide to attend a party at their neighbor's house anonymously, intending to install a sound-reflecting device. Once inside, Sebastian, the neighbor, surprises Pippa by lifting her onto his shoulder and taking her to the photo shoot stage, instructing Thomas to take a photo with her. After the photo shoot, Sebastian leaves without saying a word. While waiting for the bathroom, Thomas discovers that Sebastian has cheated on his wife once again. Taking advantage of the distraction, Pippa and Thomas install a mirror behind a statue in the house. They return home, and with Pippa's help, Thomas reflects laser light on the mirror, managing to hear the couple's voice. Juliet, Sebastian's wife, has discovered his infidelity, and they argue. Tired of the repeated arguments, Sebastian decides to end the relationship and divorce her. Despite Pippa's attempt to calm him down, Sebastian humiliates Juliet, causing her glasses to break. The next day at the ophthalmologist's office, Pippa discovers that Juliet has come to buy new glasses. Pippa guides Juliet in choosing a new frame for her glasses, and during the eye test, it becomes evident that Juliet is having trouble distinguishing letters. Pippa is under a lot of stress because the secret about Julia's house is out. She checks Julia's eyes with another device to make sure everything is okay. After the eye test, when they pick out glasses, they become closer and enjoy their time together. As they leave, Julia asks Pippa to meet again and suggests spending the weekend together in the sauna and hot water pool. Pippa agrees despite the stress, and Julia leaves the office. Meanwhile, while working on his advertising project, Thomas becomes curious about what Sebastian, their neighbor, says to his photography model. He adjusts his microphone, listens in, and realizes that Sebastian is trying to seduce the model with his usual technique. Initially unsuccessful, Sebastian eventually convinces the girl to have a relationship with him by promising extra money. Pippa shares what happened at the office with Thomas, mentioning that she even went on a date with Julia over the weekend. She wants to inform Julia about her husband's unhealthy relationship. However, Thomas insists that it's not their concern and advises them to focus on their relationship instead of spying on their neighbor's house. He asks Pippa to cancel her date with Julia, but she refuses. This causes Thomas to lose heart, and he leaves the house under the pretext of buying a drink. The weekend arrives, and Pippa and Julia go to the Santa Club. There, Pippa tries to indirectly understand Julia's perspective to avoid a relationship built on betrayal. Julia expresses her gratitude towards her husband, Sebastian, attributing everything in her life to him. She praises him as a successful and professional person, stating her complete trust in him. Pippa remains silent, and later they part ways in front of the sauna club and go home. Now, Pippa finds herself entangled in the lives of these two people, constantly sneaking around and carefully spying on Sebastian's unhealthy relationships. Unable to sleep, she sets up listening devices. When she realizes Julia is awake, Pippa connects to the printer in their house through Thomas's computer. She anonymously sends Julia a message revealing Sebastian's betrayal. Initially skeptical, Julia doesn't believe it. However, Pippa convinces her by revealing the presence of Sebastian's used condom in the bathroom trash can. Thomas notices what's going on and blames Pippa for her interference, considering it too much. Despite Thomas's objections, Pippa is determined to expose Sebastian. At the right moment, Julia went to Sebastian's room with a knife in front of Pippa and Thomas. Panicking, Thomas tried to call the police, but Pippa stopped him, fearing they'd get in trouble for spying. Eventually, Julia couldn't go through with killing Sebastian and left the room. Thomas, furious, crushed Pippa's camera and went back to the bedroom. The next day, he spoke to Pippa, asking her to stop spying on the neighbor. Pippa promised not to use the spy camera again after the dangerous incident. They hugged each other, but Pippa sensed something strange had happened in the neighbor's house. Shockingly, Julia had committed suicide. Terrified, Thomas blamed Pippa for the incident, packed his things, and ended their relationship, leaving Pippa alone. Pippa slept alone that night. The next day, while delivering ready-made glasses to customers, she found Julia's glasses and recorded a message about providing new glasses for her with resentment. After a few weeks, Pippa noticed Sebastian's poor condition after his wife's death. Trying to ease his conscience, she went to a shop where Sebastian was having a drink. Pippa watched him, and Sebastian noticed her presence. He approached her table, and Pippa sympathized, trying to calm him down with her words. Sebastian asked Pippa to go to his house for drinks and to take a snapshot as a model. Pippa agreed, and they went to Sebastian's house together. He poured her a drink and asked her to attend his exhibition opening. Using his usual technique, Sebastian asked Pippa to pose for the camera. After taking several photos, he asked Pippa to undress for better pictures, claiming he was a professional and trustworthy. Sebastian undressed first, and then Pippa, impressed by him, followed suit. They kissed and had a relationship while she was cheating. At the same time, Thomas went to the house with a bouquet of flowers. Not finding Pippa at home, he went to the fridge and drank his usual drink, also pouring some for the birds. Thomas noticed a new person in Sebastian's house and, seeing them with the camera, realized that Pippa was cheating on him. The next day, when Pippa woke up in Sebastian's arms, she returned home to find that Thomas had hanged himself and was dead. Devastated, Pippa spent a long time grieving Thomas's loss, leading a sad life and feeling entirely to blame for the events. Sometime later, Pippa saw Sebastian's opening ceremony on Poster Street and decided to go there with Ariana. At the ceremony, Sebastian thanked her for attending and asked her to enjoy it. Sebastian started talking about his new project and invited the love of his life. Julia explained the details of the project to the audience. In disbelief, it turned out that Julia was completely healthy, and their new project was all about Pippa and Thomas. Julia and Sebastian revealed that Pippa and Thomas had been spying on them illegally, unaware that cameras recorded their every move in the house. Julia told the audience the entire story of Pippa's life and considered her actions as the main reason for Thomas's death. Pippa realized that all their work was a trick, taking advantage of her. She quickly left and decided to go to Sebastian's place first. Entering the attic room, she discovered that Sebastian and Julia had recorded every moment of their presence in the house. Distraught, Pippa crushed things, tore pictures, and cried. The next day, Pippa had to leave her home in Montreal. While packing, after emptying a drink into the bird's water tank, she noticed some dead birds under the window. Moments later, she met Julia, who bid farewell. Sebastian and Julia were interviewed by a magazine about their idea to create the second season of a gallery of pictures showing neighbors who spied on their lives, portraying a different role each season. At the end of the interview, Sebastian exhibited nervous behavior and left the magazine office with Julia. They took the gift sent by their fans home with them. After having a drink, they discussed Sebastian's guilt. When Sebastian questioned Julia about her lack of shame, Julia claimed she had no responsibility for Thomas's death and blamed the killer. They were humiliated in the ceremony. The printer started printing paper again, and Pippa talked to them, saying she knew everything and was sure that Thomas didn't commit suicide, they murdered him. Sebastian and Julia noticed Pippa's presence and went after her to stop her. Pippa ran to her workplace, trying to prevent them from entering but failed. Pippa explained that she knew Julia poisoned Thomas and made the crime look like suicide. Pippa accused them of playing her and being the real culprits of Thomas's death. Julia tried to pretend innocence, considering Pippa's words as hallucinations, but suddenly she fainted. Pippa told Sebastian the drink was her gift, poisoned them, and asked him to look at her face one last time because it would be the last thing he sees. Pippa took them under the machine, blinding them with ophthalmic equipment so they would miss their next project and couldn't ruin someone else's life.